Oh, really good question. What are common misconceptions about people with social communication challenges? That they've been poorly parented, that they're just rude, that they're big old behavior problems, and if people just were harder on them, that they would behave. Or they're just really shy. I mean, it's temperament too. You can't look at purely intelligence. You have to look at, okay, where's that social intelligence, but what kind of person is this person just from a temperament point of view? Is this more of a gregarious person? Do they bend for the outrageous? Are they a quieter person? Because we're not trying to create a cookie cutter stamp of every social person looks exactly the same way. It's who are you as a person? What is your stage of development? How are people interpreting your behavior? And so a lot of kids with social communication disorders, because they look more normal or neurotypical, we assume how they should behave. And if they don't meet our requirements, what that usually means is they're rude or they're arrogant. So if you're really quiet and people know you're smart because you've participated in classes and people know that you have a lot of information, even if you're not talking a whole lot, the teacher, points you out, is proud of your work. If you're really quiet, you do a good job in school, or you try to do a good job, and you don't talk to anybody, a lot of people will have harsh judgments against that quiet person because they think that person is judging them, and that's why they choose not to talk to them. So I had a girl who was very bright. She had trouble getting all of her work done. A lot of our kids do have trouble getting their work done because they have what I call what is called executive functioning problems. They have trouble putting all their work together. But she was really bright. So when she was in work groups, she could contribute some really cool ideas, but she never talked to kids socially. She was very anxious about it. So she was often by herself. And finally, this girl came up to her. She was new. My client was new in high school. And I kept working with her on, hey, if you stay really quiet and you don't talk to anybody, it makes people get paranoid. It makes them think, hey, that kid just doesn't like us. She doesn't want to be with us. And then what happened at school, my client reported to me later, was this girl came up to her and said, what is wrong with you? Why won't you talk to anybody? Because people are just offended by that behavior. So I think that's the big thing, is that people, you and I, are really uptight social judges. Every one of us is egocentric. Every one of us bends towards paranoia. And every one of us wants to be included or at least thought of highly by other people. So if we're talking to people who make us feel less intelligent, if we're talking to people who make us feel like they're not approving of us or don't want to include us, or not even talking to them if we're around people, we trigger each other's paranoia. And if you're rude just because you're saying something and not worrying about how it was said, but you're just saying it, we can call that rude. That's our interpretation. And that's the big bummer about social, is it's all a judgment call. So we're always at each other's mercy, in the sense that we're aware social is something that it's always up to the other person's perception of us, what they think about us. So they can call us rude, and I can argue and say, I wasn't rude. But it doesn't matter what I'm saying, it's how I was judged. So we tiptoe around that, and we're all very careful about it. We choose our words carefully as we get older and we're more mature around it. And then you'll find, almost all of us who've got decent social skills, we don't walk into a room and go, I've got great social skills. We virtually never talk about ourselves as having great social skills, because we know that it's always a judgment. We can't decide that for ourselves. But if someone does walk into the room, which a number of my clients have walked in and say, I have great social skills, we have all kinds of diagnostic labels for that, because you're not supposed to think you have great social skills. It's always up to someone else as to whether they decide that.